Okay, so you know my decision, you know why I made the decision, and what led me to that. So what's next? What's to come? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a good feel for this bike. I'm going to ride it just the way it is from Honda. I'm going to see what I think it needs, not listen to everybody out there and just jump in and do these things because they say it needs to be done. I want to learn for myself and figure out if that needs to be done and why, and then decide when my time is right to do it myself. So yes, I know the ECU and replacing it is going to be a great benefit. I know taking emissions equipment off is probably going to benefit it. I know throwing an exhaust on there is going to benefit it. But I want to decide when it's time for me to do those things. So I'm going to get a feel for this bike. I'm going to jump on, going to put some miles on it, off-road. I don't ride too much on-road, so I'm not going to focus on any on-road modifications. It's all going to be off-road for me. So I basically want a dirt bike that has a license plate. So all my modifications are going to be off-road based, maybe even geared towards track and trails more specifically. And that's going to dictate the path in which this bike takes. So there are a couple things that I do know I'm going to do. One of those things are just the simple mods to start with, the aesthetics. We're looking at like the seat cover, the license plate holder, it's huge, the turn signals, just simple things to make the bike look better. They're not going to add to performance. They're going to make it look better. Some of them might help lose a little weight too, which is good because dual sports are generally a little bit heavier than a race bike. They are actually always heavier than a race bike. So those mods also help reduce some weight. That's always a good thing. I want this bike to be track capable, so doing those little things are going to help take a little bit of weight off here and there. That's a plus. The other thing I know I'm going to need are tires. These tires are okay, but they're like a 70-30 off-road, on-road. So 70% off-road, 30% on-road. I already know how the bike works in the dirt. I've ridden it quite a bit. I've put over 30 miles on it already. Half of those miles are probably on my trails on the 5 acres that I grew up riding. The other half are probably on the road. Like I say, I don't ride on the road a lot. I'm not going to focus on road performance, but I do know those tires need to get upgraded to some more grippy dirt tires. The other thing that I know I'm going to go with are different gear setups. I want to change the gear ratios. I want to make this bike better for low-speed trail riding. I feel that it's a compromise bike. It needs to be able to go on the road and go fast at highway speeds, and it also needs to go slow enough to navigate some trails, but I think it's biased towards the on-road aspect of riding. This thing is geared for the road. That means it's geared for higher speeds. It's not going to be winding out at 55 or 60 miles an hour. You can go 80, 90 miles an hour on this bike. Probably not sustained, but Honda designed it so you can go jump on a 70 mile an hour highway and feel comfortable. I don't need that. I need to feel more comfortable on the trails. So one of the first things I'm going to do is gear this thing up for the trails. The other thing with dual sports is they're usually sprung very softly. The suspension is pretty soft. It needs to be comfortable. It needs to handle the road. It needs to kind of do everything. Kind of like a street car, like when you get a Mustang or a Miata. You know that car is going to be good for drag racing, or you know it's going to be good for road racing or autocross, but in its stock form, it's going to try to be good on the road too. So being good on the road means being softer. Suspension needs to be softer, car needs to be higher. People don't want to fall into the car when they get into it, can't be that low. That's what a dual sport does. It's trying to do everything, so it's going to be geared as an all-around suspension. So I'm probably going to get suspension reworked for more track and trail duty. Probably more biased towards the track duty for jumping motocross tracks. So I'm probably going to send the forks off and maybe even upgrade the rear shock to make it a little bit more of a race bike sort of suspension, which can also be used on the trails. And lastly, one of the things I'm probably least concerned about is the performance. So this bike's pretty quick. It's a 450. It's got a lot of power. Although it's detuned from the race bikes, it does get up and go. It'll pull a second gear wheelie in stock form on the road. On the dirt, it'll rip up whatever you're on. It's fast. I mean, it's it's not lacking in performance. Some people achieve outright performance by way of major mods. I don't feel as if I need to replicate the KX450F I had in terms of speed. I don't need to go that fast, whether it's on the track or on the road. So I'm not going to focus on performance, but I do like performance upgrades. So an exhaust, some of those easy things to do. I'm not going to get into the engine and rework it. The ECU, I know, is that dark cloud looming in the back that it's going to come up at some point. So the ECU is probably something I might address down the road, but I'm going to see if I can make do with the stock ECU. And part of the process of understanding what you need to do is analyzing what it is doing. So I want to analyze what this bike does. I want to look at the spark plug to see how lean it's running. Can it even get an exhaust without having more fuel? Is that going to hurt the bike? So I'm going to get some stuff to try to analyze what the bike is doing and see, and then based from there, is it okay to get an exhaust? Will it make it too lean? So those are some things along the performance line. Really light. Also, I heard that a flywheel weight or a heavier flywheel will do wonders for this on the trail. So that's probably something I'll explore sooner than the performance of the motor probably. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope it was beneficial to you, although long. Let me know what you thought in the comments. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. If you really like what I'm doing here and you want to follow along with the progress on this bike, subscribe to the channel. And hope you tune in for the next one. So thanks again, and see you later.